Yo, what is going on, guys? Pothead here, and I'm back with another video. Not gonna lie, kind of hit a little creative block there for a second, but I'm trying to get back into it. This story was something that I was reminiscing on a little bit with one of my friends on the phone the other day, and it's kind of Opiate Odyssey-ish. I would say it's like Opiate Odyssey adjacent, but it was definitely during that time period. If any of you are OGs of this channel, you remember when I did a brief soiree into the California Chronicles. This was right after that. So let me set the scene for you. I had just gone to California. During this time in my life, I was just traveling all over the place, literally for two reasons. The main being buying pills. The ulterior motive was like seeing, people that I had met through Instagram and Shoreline stuff and all that stuff, and like meeting them and linking up and, get high together. And it was a cool, like, I called it networking. Most people would call it being a junkie, but, whatever. I had just gone to California. I was coming back with, I bought 230s. I was there for 2 days, so I probably did 20 of them. So I'm coming back on this plane, and I have 180 perks on me. A lot of people are weird about flying with pills and drugs that aren't prescribed to you. Bro, just put them shits in an Advil bottle or a fucking vitamin bottle that you can buy. They're not gonna fucking X-ray scan and be like, oh yeah, those don't look like ibuprofens. They look like it's bullshit, bro. That shit is the easiest thing to fly with in the world. Even if it wasn't, at this point, I didn't care. I was getting high. I would rather drive 18 hours than not be able to go without doing drugs on a 4-hour flight. I was a degenerate at this point in my life. So the flight that I'm gonna get into was not the flight back from California to Colorado. The main flight was I had another thing to do in Boston. I was going to meet some people that I knew in Boston. My dad was out there at the time. I was going to see him. He was on some work shit. And I was just like, I'm fucking bored. I don't really want to be in Colorado. So I get back to Colorado for literally a night. I'm booking flights to Boston. I used to do the stupid stuff of every time I'd get to United, the booking thing. I have the Premier Plus thing with TSA Pre and all that stuff. And sometimes if you get there and there's an open first class seat or whatever, you can check the app and they have it for $100 more. But even if it wasn't $100 more, if I had to pay a bunch more, I would buy the tickets and I'd be like, do I really want to fly economy right now? I do not, So I'd buy the first class ticket and I was just blowing, at this point in my life, I was blowing through money as fast as I could. I don't know why. I just wanted to have fun. I think honestly, during this point in my life, I was so sure that I was right that this wasn't going to last that much longer. So why not have the most fun that I could? But also I was thinking of it in an even worse way, in that, I was probably going to die at some point, and, why not live it up? Thankfully, I took the other route and I'm healthy and happy now and didn't die. Well, I did, but, came back. So I get to Colorado and my plug hits me. And he's like, yo, the peaches just touched down. Do you want to buy these? Blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'll take them all. So I go drive 45 minutes there and back to Denver, buy these peaches, which if you don't know are the little 0.25 milligram Zans. I bought 120 of these things for cheap as fuck. These things were nowadays people be taxing anything. They be taxing $4. I've seen people get off peaches for $5 each. I'm like, that is insane. I bought them for probably $2, $1 each. And so now I have, by the time the next day, I probably had 170 perks and 30s and 120 peaches. And I used bro, the thing was at this point, my tolerance for perks was so high that I didn't really even notice how faded I was until I started nodding. So I would just I'd rail at 30. I'd probably take 8 to 15 of these peaches at any given time, and then I'd be like, okay, well, and honestly, if you think about it, 8 peaches is a normal 2 milligram Zan, so that's not that crazy, but it is obviously if I were to tell it to any normal person, they'd be like, that's insane. But for me, that was super normal. So on the way to the airport the next morning, I think my flight was at 11:30, so I probably get up. I'm barely making this flight. I probably, nod out at around 3 in the morning. I'm waking up at 9. I got to take this Uber. It's 45 minutes. Luckily, thank God. Praise God for my dad for getting me the TSA Pre. Otherwise, I would have been fucked. But, you know, once you have TSA pre, you roll it to the airport, and it literally takes like 10 seconds to get through security and everything. That's another reason I don't ever really care about flying on drugs or anything. They don't give a fuck. Like, you just walk through that bitch, they barely even look at you. They're like, yeah, you got the thing? Okay. And they like run you back to the x-ray scanner, and they're like, okay, good to go. You don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to have your laptop out. Like, any of those ridiculous semantics. You know, in the Uber, I remember I was just like sneakily like taking these pinks. And I was like, obviously when I woke up, I did a 30. But by the time, you know, I'm out of the Uber and I'm to the airport, I'm like, damn, like I'm ready to do another one here. But I'm like, let me get through it. Like, I'm kind of running late for this. Like, let me get through this. And you know, I'm going to get there and get through this gate, get to the gate, go to the bathroom, and I'll do one there. So that's exactly what I did. But I didn't even get to the gate. My stupid ass got through the security check-in. I found the nearest bathroom, went in there, broke down at 30. And by this time, I have like 10, 15 minutes until the boarding time. So I'm like sprinting, trying to find this gate. I'm in the fucking, I don't even remember which terminal, B terminal. It's like the end of the terminal, like literally all the way down. I'm running, I'm taking the little walkways. I'm like, my bad, you know, movie airport shit, like fucking sprinting. I get there, I'm heaving and wheezing, breathing out my ass, like trying to just, you know, terrified. I look at my phone, I'm like, oh, I have 5 minutes still until we start boarding. Because I was in such a hurry, like I just Usain bolted my way over there. So I sit down, compose myself a little bit. I take a few more pinks, right? And this was a connecting flight. I gotta tell you that. So I was connecting into Boston through Chicago. So I go from Colorado to Chicago and then to Boston. So the first flight is chill, it's calm, it's whatever, you know, I'm in first class, which was nice. You get the little towel, you know, they bring you these, you know, they're like, do you want any alcohol? I'm like, no, thank you, you know, drugs for me only, please. So they give me like some bullshit meal that I didn't even touch. I don't know if any of you guys have gotten this, but like with heavy opiate addiction, it made me so particular of foods to where I was only eating like a bag of Sour Patch Kids like every day. Like that was my meal. So I'm going through all this, empty stomach, probably like 100 fucking pills down there. I got like 3 perks at my nostril. And I go in the plane takes off, the seatbelt thing goes off. I go in the bathroom, I do another one. When you're in the air, flying at such a high altitude, things affect you differently. You know, people often talk about, you know, getting drunk on a plane is like so much different, blah, blah. The same thing goes for drugs. Like, you're that high up, you have less oxygen going to your brain, everything hits harder. So I do this other perk, and it smacks me. I mean, I go back down, I sit in my seat, I throw my AirPods in, I'm done, I'm sleeping. I remember, like, the next thing I remember is the flight attendant, like, pushed it, like, boop, wake up, you know, we're here. The entire first class has already left. They're waiting for me to leave so the other people on the plane can start to leave. Ridiculous. So, well, they were already leaving, but, you know, you get, like, the priority exit thing on, whatever. I get out. My connecting flight isn't for, like, an hour and a half. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get some Starbucks, you know, blah, blah, blah. And my gate was honestly pretty close. Like, I've never gotten this lucky ever again through Chicago Airport. I hate Chicago Airport. People are always like, Denver Airport is the worst. Chicago Airport sucks, too. Most major airports are labyrinths that you have to walk around through like a little rat. You know, I get there, find the gate, everything's copacetic. I'm chilling. You know, I got my little chai tea from Starbucks. I got a blueberry scone, ate like one bite of it, threw it away. I don't know if it was the Xanax or boredom, a combination. I don't know what was going through my head. But I sit down at the bar. The waitress at the bar or bartender, the person who makes the drink at the bar, bartender, right? Is there a different word for female bartender? I don't think there is. I might be being sexist right now. I don't intend to. I'm just very uneducated with all things alcohol. So I sit down. She looked cute. I start talking to her. And she's like, do you want anything to drink? And I might have been people-pleasing a little bit, too, now thinking back on this. But I'm like, oh, like, what do you recommend? Like, blah, blah. She's like, oh, like a margarita is, like, really good. You know, we make a really good one. I have my own, like, little special twist on it. And I have no idea drinks or anything. I think a margarita is tequila, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I just know it was a margarita. It had like the salt on the rim and stuff. I had this margarita, and it's actually not too bad. Like, disgusting, obviously, it's alcohol, but all things considered, it's not that bad. I think the kind of tequila she used was super expensive or something, or it could have just been a fucking airport price drink, but I remember paying like $45 for 2 of these drinks. And then I had another one for some reason. I had two margaritas off, like, you know, probably 4 full Xans at this point, and I know I did another perk in the Chicago airport, so I'm probably what, like 530s deep, 4 Xans, like now 2 margaritas. Like, I don't know what was going through my head. The only thing that they're like super concerned about on the airplane for some reason that like I've ever had an issue with is vaping. Even if you have a vape in your hand, they're like watching you like a hawk, like making sure you don't vape. And, you know, I sometimes try to sneak one in. If you go in the bathroom, obviously, you know, you can ghost it and blah, blah. I was so belligerently fucked up at this point. Like, I don't remember boarding the flight, actually. I have no idea what elapsed between, you know, getting this drink and then getting on this plane. I do remember sitting down next to this, like, kind of older, you know, middle-aged woman, and, you know, we were talking, and I was just feeling magnificent. You know, I was on my bullshit. I'm striking up a conversation. I'm hitting my vape. I'm blowing the smoke out. Like, and she's like looking at me kind of weird, and I'm like, I wonder why she's looking at me like that. Like, because at this point, I'm so fucked up. I barely even remember I'm on an airplane. Like, I'm just kind of like having a great time. The flight attendant comes over and she's like, sir, we're gonna have to ask you to stop vaping. Like, we might have to kick you off the plane. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, my bad. Like, oh, that never happen again. And, you know, I go back to talking, you know, the plane starts to take off. I remember what she said for probably half an hour, you know, to be fair, 45 minutes. And then I start doing it again. And she comes over again in the air and she's like, sir, like, we're going to have to stop the plane. And, you know, you have to get it together here. And at this point, we're in the air. I'm so belligerently faded right now. Like, I wasn't listening to a word she said. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, well, I won't do it again, you know, type shit. At that point, somehow I was coherent enough to be like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. And I go to the bathroom to hit my vape. And I'm like, oh, I'm already here, you know, might as well. I'll do a half of a perk, you know, I won't do a whole perk. I remember struggling so hard because they were canines. And breaking canines, like, with your fingers can sometimes be really hard in half. Especially if you don't cut your fingernails, or if you cut your fingernails, excuse me. If you don't cut them, you know, you can kind of get the nail in the edge, you can pop it apart. But I was struggling. Literally, like, within trying to break this perk, like, I broke it in half, and it broke too hard, and it shattered. So I had, like, I would say, like, 3/8 of a perk, and then the rest of it was, like, in a bunch of little pieces. And I kept a quarter, probably, and the rest of it just disappeared into Neverland. I just do all of that. Lost, you know, a third of a perk or whatever. I didn't even care. I'm just like, oh, that sucks, you know? And I go back into my seat. I didn't even put my AirPods back in. This was still, like, during, like, COVID-ish times. Like, you know, people were flying and stuff, but I didn't remember to put my mask back on. Like, I was just sitting there, like, slumped in the chair. Like, done, bro. And then I come to, we've landed, same thing. The fucking flight attendant's, like, poking me, like, you gotta go. You gotta wake up. You gotta go. Luckily, I think they just assumed I was drunk, but I mean, I was drunk. I mean, that's the most alcohol I'd consumed in years. 2 fucking margaritas. I don't drink, so it was just a whole seriously bad concoction. I managed to get out of my seat. So I somehow didn't forget anything. I had my AirPods, I had my phone, I had all my drugs, luckily, had my vape. And I get out of the plane, and my friends were going to pick me up from the airport. So I'm, like, trying to find my way through the Boston airport. This is my, like, first time ever being here. You know, I get to the other, you know, the end. I get out of the security. I'm waiting in the front. My friends pick me up, and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I'm like, what? Like, you look so faded right now. I guess, like, my one eye was, like, way more open than the other eye, and I was just, like, off the shits. I get in their car. I nod off. Like, it was bad, bro. Like, I just didn't have any sense of moderation in the world at this point. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. It was so awful. And so we get to their house. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to bed. So at this point, bro, like, I'd probably done like 8:30s and chomped down like 20, maybe 25 of these peaches. Which, again, sounds insane. It's only like 5.5, you know, 6 Xans, which is a shit ton of Xans. But I was doing benzos pretty frequently at this point. It's still too many. It's still way too many. You should, like, that's still too many. But I just fell asleep. I fell asleep for like 18 hours, I think. I woke up feeling like such shit. threw up. Every time I drink alcohol, I throw up. It's awful. But yeah, that was the time that I ruined a flight. I was belligerently faded in the air. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.